There are three types of different flow patterns which are achieved during the liquid-liquid mixing. We have discussed them before in the previous lecture also. I'll briefly mention it here. If you want to refer, you can go back to the video, the lecture before, and see the videos to differentiate between the three. One is tangential, in which the flow is tangent to the impeller shaft. Okay, impeller is the mixing device which we are using in the mixing vessel. So when the flow of the liquid is in tangent direction to the impeller shaft, it is called tangential flow. When it is vertical to the impeller shaft, it is radial flow. Whereas if it is parallel to the impeller shaft, it is called axial flow. Here is an image of various kinds of industrial impellers which are used. Impeller is basically the device, and there are then various kinds of devices, the various designs of impellers which are used for mixing. Okay, impeller could be turbine, it could be a propeller, or it could be a paddle type. Okay, in this you can see turbine impeller designs and pedal impeller designs. However, for liquid-liquid mixing, because this is the monophasic chapter, what we are studying, the liquid-liquid mixing impellers are of three types basically: turbine impellers, pedal impellers, and propeller impellers. These are the three impeller designs which we are going to discuss in the monophasic chapter: propeller, turbine, and pedal type. So the image that you can see on the right hand side of the slide is that of a vortex. The strong circulatory flow pattern during liquid-liquid mixing sometimes manifests into the formation of a vortex. A vortex can be formed because of many reasons. It could be formed because of very high impeller speed, when there are no baffles in the tank, or the turbines are arranged perpendicular to the shaft, or if the shaft which is mounted vertically in the center of the tank. These are the reasons why a vortex is formed. While we are talking about the vortex causes, here is because vortex is undesirable during mixing. Okay, the vortex forms air bubbles at the center. These air bubbles are then difficult to remove. Also, these air bubbles cause the oxidation of the compounds. So these factors and causes, these these make us think that why not prevent it during liquid-liquid mixing? How do we prevent the formation of vortex now? One is there should be no symmetry. Symmetry in the sense that the impeller should not be placed exactly in the center. That is one cause of vortex formation. It should be placed off center, okay, or it should be inclined, it should have an angle, or there should be an entry from the side of the mixing tank. Another thing is we can use baffles. Baffles, I'm going to discuss in the coming slide what are they and how do they. I've also inserted a video that will explain how baffles resist the formation of a vortex and increase the mixing. Now here is an image depicting how we can practically prevent the formation of vortex. These are the same points which we have discussed before. These are just, those points are just explained diagrammatically. So baffles are nothing but metal strips which are placed vertically on the inner lining of the vessels. These are particularly desirable in the initial stages of the mixing where segregation is present on a large scale. These facilitate the mixing of liquids even from remote uh, remote regions of the mixer. Also, these do not let the formation of vortex. So the diagram here explains two things. One, the propeller mixers, and another thing is how the baffles these resist the formation of a vortex. Propeller has angle blades which causes the fluid to circulate in both axial and radial direction. Okay, and an off-center mounting of this propeller, it discourages the formation of vortex. Either you place it off-center or you add baffles to the mixing tank. Now draft tubes are a very important feature. Their main function is to decrease the velocity and increase the pressure of the fluid flowing from the runner exit to tail race. Okay, so here the pressure difference is being talked about. Okay, these convert the kinetic energy at the exit of the turbine runner into useful pressure energy. If you see about its placement in the diagram, in case of propeller impeller, these are covering the propeller, whereas in figure A, in case of turbines, these are above the turbines. So this is their positioning. So I repeat, these decrease the or decelerate the velocity of the liquid which is below the impeller. Okay, it is having very high velocity. It decreases the velocity and increases the pressure difference. That pressure gradient is formed, okay, which then moves the liquid upwards. If you see in the diagram on the right, these red lines indicate that with the pressure, the liquid which was flowing down, initially its velocity decreased, the pressure difference increased, and with the pressure, with high pressure, it because of the decrease in the pressure, the liquid moves upwards and then comes back. A turbine consists of a circular disc. Okay, on this circular disc, a number of short blades are attached. The diameter of turbine ranges from 30 to 50% of the diameter of the vessel. It rotates at 50 to 200 revolutions per minute. There may be various modifications in the designing of turbines. Okay, if they could be straight blade turbines, vertical blade turbines, or pitched blade turbines. These modifications impart different kind of flow. The flatbed turbine produces radial and tangential flow. Okay, but if we increase the speed, if we increase the revolutions per minute, the radial flow is produced. A pitched blade turbine produces axial flow. So these are the advantages we get after using the modified turbines. These turbines, these are very effective for highly viscous solutions. Okay, and they could have viscosities up to 7,000 Pascal seconds. See, remember 1 Pascal second is equal to 1,000 centipoise. So in that terms, it is efficient for highly viscous liquids. They can handle slurries with up to 60% solids. Example of viscous liquids which it can efficiently mix are syrups, liquid paraffin, glycerine, etc. So these are some of the continuous mixing equipments which are used. The continuous mixing of equipments may use the pressure of air, or they may use the devices which we have discussed before, that is the pedal or turbine or propeller, any kind of impeller basically. The airjet mixers are one of the simplest types in its kind. In this, basically, a jet of air is pumped from the bottle of the vessel in which the mixing liquids are kept. As a result, air bubbles are formed. So these air bubbles have their own buoyant force. These will be these will be retained in the central portion because in the containers there are in the vessel where the mixing has to take place, draft tubes are placed. As discussed before, the draft tubes increase the pressure difference and decrease the velocity. Okay, so the buoyancy of the bubbles, it lifts the liquids which are confined to the central portion. The liquids flow down from the periphery of the vessel and then again enter from the bottom due to a suction effect which is created. Okay, this is how the mixing is achieved. This is the principle of airjet mixers. Airjet mixers are used for mixing the liquids which have low viscosity and there are no chances of foaming. Okay, also there is no kind of interaction or reaction with the gases, okay, which are used by the airjet mixer, the compressed air. It should not be reactive with the same. In jet mixers, the liquids which have to be mixed are pumped separately into the mixer at different velocities. Let us say we are mixing two liquids. Okay, so one liquid is pumped through a nozzle at uniform high velocity. The other, which is entering the tank for mixing, is at low velocity. The fast moving liquid then impinges on the slow moving liquid. So, this jet which is created as it moves away from the orifice, the area of its influence decreases. So when a rapidly moving liquid, that is liquid 1, it comes in contact with liquid 2, which has a lower velocity, a high velocity gradient is developed at the boundary. Because of this velocity gradient, strong shear stresses exist at the boundary. Okay, these shear stresses induce the mixing. How they induce the mixing? Number one, when the slowly moving liquid enters the jet, okay, the volume of the jet will increase, but the velocity will decrease. So this decreased velocity, it expands the jet. Okay, the volume of the jet is increasing. Okay, because of this, a shear is developed. This shear helps in mixing. Another thing is this shear stress. It tears off the eddies which are generated during this process. This generates turbulence. Again, turbulence aids in mixing. So, finally come the flow mixers or line mixers. These mixers are an alternative to mixing the fluids in batches and vessels. What happens is the mobile miscible components, they are fed directly through an inline mixer which is designed in such a way that maximum turbulence is produced during the flow of the liquid. In this case, a continuous mixing process is possible. The mixing takes place through bulk transport in the direction of flow. It may consist of baffled pipe or an empty chamber with other modifications in it. The liquids to be mixed are passed through this pipe. The effective mixing is achieved by controlling the rate of feed. The feed here is the liquids which we intend to mix. If we talk about modifications or the presence of baffles, it could be screws, it could be grids or vanes or a combination of them which can be used inside these pipes for increasing the mixing efficiency. So when large volume of liquids are to be mixed, flow mixers are used. And the baffle pipe mixers have very little backflow. So this adds to the advantage of line or inline mixers or flow mixers. Here is a list of factors which affect liquid-liquid mixing in tanks. First category is material related, then equipment related, and then process related. Under material related, what are the features of material that will affect the liquid-liquid mixing? One is density. For example, we discussed in turbine impellers that they are used for the highly viscous liquids mixing. Okay. Then is miscibility, because this is a monophasic chapter, not biophysics chapter. We are talking only about the mixing of miscible liquids. Okay, there are different mixes for suspensions and emulsion mixings. Then, if we talk about the equipment related factors, the shape of the impeller, whether it is paddle, it is turbine, or it is propeller, okay, how it is placed, okay, at what height it is placed in the mixing tank, what is the angle it is placed at, what is the size, of itself, its diameter, and in respect to the mixing vessel's diameter. What is the cost? Of course, cost is a major factor while we are finalizing the instrumentation of of any process which we are carrying out in the laboratory or in the industry. Then process related factors. The process related factors could be the speed at which the impeller is uh, given, what speed, higher speed or lower speed. Then how much time is required using that impeller for efficient mixing. What is the power which we are using on a particular batch size for mixing, and how easy it is to maintain it, to clean it, and to carry out the mixing process.